that Pan-Africanism is an ideology, and it's also a discourse that is in response to something, right? So it's a reaction, it's a response to a condition. It's oftentimes a response to a condition of a colonial condition that has thrived off of the dehumanization of Black folks as well. And it's in search for civilizational meaning of the self, right? And in search for an alternative civilizational grounding of an identity, a new sense of community, a new meaning of what it means to be a person of value and worth, etc. Going back to Brother Malcolm, he understood that the search for meaning could only be found in Islam. Right? The search for meaning that's what remarkably he experienced that in the Hajj time, right? In an area, in an environment that was full of diversity, full of plurality and difference in meaning. And even though he toured the African continent, he also toured parts of Europe as well. When he spent a lot of time in Africa, he saw the diversity of Africa, but in that diversity, he saw the unity of Islam and the presence of the ability of the Islamic civilization to provide the answers about the value of the human condition, the value of Black folks. And he saw that was the language, if you will, if I can use the term language to describe Islam for a second, right? We all know it's not a language, but I'm going to use it, in a general way, that Islam was the language, right? The discourse that was needed, that folks needed to be articulate in, right? And this was also used by, the Moorish Science Temple, the Nation of Islam, the language of Islam was used to elevate Black folks, right? What it meant, if you study the early history of Islam in America, the idea that, what it meant to be a Moor, for example, what it meant to be a Muslim was an elevated sense, a more civilized sense, if you will, of being Black early on in the days, right? Even in the times of slavery. So the understanding that to be Muslim was to be a person that had value, because we understood who our maker was, we were literate, we came from a tradition, a great civilization, and more importantly, to the Pan-Africanists, we did not accept subjugation, right? We didn't tolerate subjugation. We had an allergy for enslavement because our tradition talks so much about liberation, liberating ourselves from other human beings so that we can be devotees of Allah Ta'ala, right? And for those folks who constantly respond about the slavery in Africa via Islamic foundations, there are historical answers to that. But I think the most important argument is that the condition of Islam is that the condition of Islam with regards to that was not only different than the condition of tribal leaders and paganists as well that perpetrated slavery as well. That was a condition of the world in the past. But Islam as a movement, as a way of life, was about and is about the liberation of the condition of all people, not just Black people, but all people. And so there's a danger of arrogance. There's a danger of supremacy. There's a danger of tribalism that the Pan-Africanist offers to us that we have to be very careful of. Although the discourse about the value of a civilization, the grounding of the self as a valuable creation of Allah Ta'ala in response to conditions that seek to dehumanize that, that is a praiseworthy thing. But we've got to keep in mind our moral standing, and we've got to keep in mind that our solutions as Muslims, as part of the Islamic community, that our solutions are far superior for human civilization because they root us in a place and in a period that is not only global, but also spiritual, right? It transcends the earth in that sense, right? Transcendental, but also it acknowledges who we are as a smaller community, as a racial community, but without the deleterious effects of supremacy, racism, tribalism, that has a constant effect of dividing people and conquering nufus and contributing to the loss of life, and in that sense, becoming an equal ideology along with communism and socialism and all the other 99 isms of modernity, which have no competition against the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so I think I'll leave it at that, inshallah ta'ala. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the temptations of shaitan and his ideologies and his idols as well. Ameen.